This is Mark with Mark's House of Cars, and this is my 1988.5 Lamborghini Countach. And a lot of people think this is an anniversary, or they think it's some kind of mix of an anniversary and a previous model Countach. But it is an 88.5. All the design features are stock, although the color is not stock. I've had a story on that before. But I want to go over the differences between this car and a Countach that's an anniversary model and some of the previous models before this one as well. So you can know the differences, what they are, and if you see them, be on the lookout for how many differences there are on an anniversary model. So the first thing is my car had American bumpers on it when I got it. I put on this custom bumper. I've got some video I'll put in here of what it looked like before, but it had the big, bulky bumper that sticks out. I still have that bumper in the garage. And then on back, it had 4 of these kind of rubber bumpers on the back here. It had 2 more on the outside. The ones on the outside are very easy to take off, just bolt off. Those are kind of welded into the frame and a little trickier, so we just left those. But the anniversary edition has completely different bumpers. So they put those on. It's a US version, obviously. They put those on to meet US safety guidelines. The anniversary Countach had a similar front bumper, but it was painted body color. But almost everybody takes those off, just like they take off the bumper on the older ones. And this is what most anniversaries look like now. That was what the Euro bumper looked like for cars that weren't in the United States. And quite a few people take off those bumpers and put on an anniversary bumper to make it look better. I chose a different route just because I like the black, the contrast, and it's kind of a throwback to the Walter Wolf Countach, the Periscopa Countaches. And like I said, I really like the contrast, which is something we'll talk about too with the anniversaries as well. Now in the back bumper, this is a US version, so this is kind of a bumper as well. And the European ones have just a flat section that I think looks much better than this. I may do that at some point, but that's what the US version got. Now the anniversary had this section that looked like this as well, at least for the US. Plus, it had another giant bumper built into it on the bottom that kind of hid what I think is one of the best features of the Countach, and that is this cool underbelly rear end that just looks amazing. So that's one reason why I'm not a huge fan of the anniversary. They're fine, they're okay, but I much prefer any other version besides the anniversary. And I like this car a lot. I wish it was a little bit different. We'll talk about that. But the anniversaries just are so different from what a Countach was originally and evolved into until its last version. Now the built-in bumper actually looks a lot like my Diablo, which is in here. And you can see how it's part of the car. You kind of can't really tell it's a bumper unless you knew what that's for, but that's what that bottom piece is a bumper. And then yeah, my old US bumpers, there's the 2 from the outside, and there's my old front US bumper as well. And those are my Pirelli tires that were on it when I bought the car 2 years ago, 345s, and those were 27 years old. So I definitely want to change those out and make sure I had good tires on the car. Also had to get a new wheel. That's another story I've talked about before. But back to our differences here. So bumpers are obviously very different. Some other major factors is the anniversary has all of these kind of, what do you want to call them? Fish gills or vents going this way, and they go all down here. They go back down this way. They go across the hood here, and they're all body color too. So I mentioned one thing before, I love the contrast, especially red versus black, but any color, yellow, silver, white, gray, there's some blue, all those. I love the contrast between all the design features and the black. So unless you have a black Countach, that kind of takes it away. But if you have an anniversary, doesn't matter what color it is, those are all body color, and I think they're a bit outrageous as far as just how much of it there is. The same thing with the big vent here in the side of the door. It is also body color on the Anniversary model. So I love that part of the design. And I always, when you look at the Anniversary and you just say, it's just not quite the same. And you realize how many of these things they changed. And then it starts to make sense. Oh yeah, it doesn't have that. That's body colored. It's got the different bumpers. It's just such a different looking car. Some other differences that are kind of subtle. The mirror. You've got the black mirror here. The Anniversary has, this part is black. The rest of it is body colored. Subtle difference. The Anniversary has kind of a side skirt with, lines in it. Much more aggressive looking than this car. And one of the big confusions about the 88.5 versus an Anniversary are these side skirts on the 88.5. The 87s, 86, 85s, all the way back before that, almost none of them had a side skirt. They all had what's called a round belly. And so if this side skirt was not here, from the side, that door might look flat. It actually rounds down to the ground quite a bit, and it looks really, really cool. I love the round belly cars on the door. The 88.5s, they put on these side skirts, to make them look more aggressive, upgraded, who knows what it is. But if I had my way, my car would not have those. Eventually, I could change that too, but that could be a pretty involved process. So I don't know if I will or won't, but that's something to know. That these are very similar, if not the same, to the Anniversary side skirts, but they are on the 88.5. So this car did share that design feature with the Anniversary, and that's why a lot of people think this is an Anniversary or it's borrowing parts from the Anniversary, when it's really just that one piece. Some of the other differences are the wheels. Pretty much all of them had the same style of OZ wheel. The new ones had a much different wheel. I do not like it at all. Some people like them. I don't. The wheels on this are just perfect to me. Just very simple. Fit the car fantastically. Love the wheels. It's a little dirty. I need to wash it here soon. But that's a huge difference between this and the Anniversary car. So that's about it for the outside. But one of the bigger differences too is not just the outside, but the inside. So if we open up the car, you will notice in an Anniversary, the seats are completely different. I love these seats. I love the look. They're super comfortable. People say they aren't comfortable. I love them, unless you're, a very large person. And I'm pretty big. I'm 6'1", like 240. They're still super comfortable for me. But the Anniversary have different seats. They have power seats too. So they have a little kind of compartment right here you open up. You can store stuff in it, and it's got the power seat controls right there. So some people might say, hey, it's nice to have power seats. Well, it actually made the seat sit up higher, gives you less room inside. The Anniversary is a little more cramped than the previous cars. So that's something to consider. The center console is slightly different because you've got your power windows in the center console. Mine, in previous models, had crank windows. They were not power. Big difference there. Both cars still have the climate control, air conditioning. Doesn't work, as good as a new system at all, but it works. And then the dash is slightly different, but not, no huge differences there. And then the gear shift is slightly different. Just some real subtle differences throughout. But the big difference is the power seats, windows, and then the room inside too. And then of course the outside differences as well. And if we take a look at the motor, a lot of people will also make some mistakes on the motors for the Anniversary. So mine's a fuel injected US version, 420 horsepower. The European version with, the downdraft motor with carbs, 455 horsepower. A lot of people think the Anniversary models all had 455 horsepower. In fact, I've seen a lot of magazines, publications, even auction houses say 455 horsepower for the anniversary, but you can tell it is a US version fuel injected model because of the hood here. The downdraft has one big hump right in the middle. The fuel injected has the two humps on the side. So the anniversary did not have a different motor than the previous Countaches. So if it is a US version with this style hood, it's fuel injected, is 420 horsepower. See that all the time, see that confusion. Otherwise, motor's the same, pretty much, you know, most of the rest of the car is the same. It's the exterior designs and changes that were all done actually by Pagani. And the story is Lamborghini wanted to debut the Diablo sooner than they did. The Diablo wasn't ready, so they decided, well, we'll just really change the Countach, make a special edition, almost make it a different car, and that will be our replacement for the Diablo debut. And they made more versions of the anniversary than any other car. Over 600 cars were produced that were anniversaries, whereas all the rest were like 1,300. So one year had 600 and some, the other 14 years had 1,300. So that's one reason why you'll see the anniversaries are worth less than almost all the other models too. They're less rare. They're not usually as desirable by most Countach guys because of all the things we just talked about. And there's just more of them for sale, which is, you know, goes with being less rare. But that's why you see the prices so different. So that's my Countach. Those are the differences between the anniversary and this 88.5. There's a few more differences between cars that were 87, 86, 85, 84. Then you get into the low bodies. Then you get into a slightly different motor. Then you get into the Periscope model that had the, you know, rear view mirror actually seeing above the roof here, and no fender flares, smaller tires, a much simpler design. Now, a lot of people prefer the simpler design. I prefer this design. I think this is the quintessential Countach, minus the side skirts, but we all have different opinions. That's why cars are so awesome, because there's something for everybody. And this is almost my perfect car. Probably an 87 would be my perfect one without the side skirts, but beggars can't be choosers when picking up one of these, and I'm still super fortunate. Just unbelievable that I have one of these to this day. And so we'll have lots more videos on it, some of my other cars, and if you have any questions or comments, leave them below. Thanks for watching.